Well, today's episode is going to be a little more fun and interesting. Now, we're going to do a couple of reviews. One is from Stardom back from May. This is before Flashing Champions and other shows afterwards. And of course, this was more like the outpost before Flashing Champions. And of course, this took place in Toyama on, what was it? Oh, yeah, May 21st. And then we're gonna go with Pro Wrestling Noah with the one of the much recent shows they had, Sunny Voyage, that took place on the 10th of June. And I think this is day 16, I believe. And then of course we ended with the review with NXT. As you know, we're getting closer and closer to the next event they're gonna have. And of course, we had some interesting surprises that took place. And then we go from news updates to tell what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling, such as what events are taking place, who's being booked, what matches are taking place, any news on wrestlers, either on their contract deals, injuries, or whatnot. So, let's get started with another episode of the Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to the Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, Jay, right here. So, let's begin with Stardom, and this is from their um, Toyama show on the 21st of May. Now, I know we're like a month behind for that, but the reason is, you know how it is, what's going on with Stardom World. They're taking way too long to put up some shows because they're trying to put in the subtitles for the overseen fan base, but I was able to see it. So our first match we have is a four-way with Aya Sakura, Hanako, Saya Ida, and Ami Sori. Now you probably can say this is going to be very interesting because we have two strong competitors, two of the less experienced wrestlers involved. But of course, there's a good learning experience from Sakura and Hanako, regardless, because Saya Ida and Ami Sori do have the experience. So you probably guess who's going to be interesting. We know there's two powerhouses involved, which is Saya Ida and Ami Sori. Then we have, of course, Sakura, who has a great background as a karate expert, and Hanako with her strength that fits in. But in this case, it was Blue Thunder Bomb by Ami Sori to Sakura that finished off to give her the win. Next match, we have singles action. We got Ruka versus Sayuri. Now, you know this is going to be a very interesting matchup because Sayuri is a tough, person. You know she's going to use her striking techniques, but it was, of course, a submission of Bayako that finished off Ruka to give her the win. Next match, we have tag team action. We have Mei Sarah and Suzuki taking on Club Venus, Jesse, and Mariah May. So you probably can guess there's a little bit of funness between both Sarah and Mariah May taking place. But in this case, the way this match ends is, of course, the tequila shot by Suzuki to Jesse, giving them the win. Now, our next match, we have Oedo Tai, consistent of Momo Watanabe, Saki Kashima, Starlight Kid, and Natsuko Tora taking on DDM's Tekla, Mai Sakurai, Micah, and Julia. Now, you all know that this type of match, when it comes to Oedo Tai, they like to cut corners. That's always been who they've always have. They like to cheat their way through in order to win. But in this case, some DDM were able to overturn it thanks to Tekla when she applied the Dokugumu Death Drop onto Saki Kashima to give them the win. And of course, once again, as always, when it comes to DDM in full force, we have Mai Sakurai doing her much recent ritual. Next up, we got the other members um, of Club Venus. We have Xena, Waka Tsukiyama, and Mina Shirakawa taking on Yuna Mizumori and, of course, the Cosmic Angels, more specifically the male tier, um, Natsupoi and Tam Nakano. Now, of course, this is prior before Flashing Champions, before she lost the white belt to Tam Nakano at Flashing Champions. Now, keep in mind, Mina believes that she can surpass Tam Nakano regardless now that she has grown, but Tam says don't, that she could never beat her due to the fact that the more she is getting stronger, more Tam does too. But of course, like any other type of match, there's going to be friction between both Mina and Tam in any aspect. But it was, of course, Tam Nakano with the Tiger Suplex onto Waka to give them the win, but also sending a direct message to Mina to let her know that she better be ready, that she will take that belt away from her. But we all know the results of that match. Now, our next one, this is our main event is Queen's Quest, consistent of Lady C, Saya Kamitani, Utami Yoshida, and Azumi taking on Stars, Hanan, Koguma, Azuki, and Mayu Iwatani. So there's going to be a lot of good, interesting matches taking parts of this match, which was really interesting. But in this case, it was, of course, the Star Crusher by Kamitani to Koguma to finish off the match. Now, this is where it gets interesting. If you guys have been following what's been going on with Stardom, even though I haven't reviewed the show yet, there was that whole thing with the generational struggle. Zuzu comes out and she calls out Tam Nakano, Mayu Iwatani, Julia, and Sudi. Basically, they ended up doing their own generational struggle. Basically, wrestlers who are far more experienced and ones who are probably right behind them in their experiences. So we have, of course, Zuzu, Maika, uh, Kamitani, and Hayashida together. So it became clear there was going to be an 8-person tag match between them. So that was interesting. But what's funny is the much younger experienced wrestlers also wanted their own generational struggle. Basically, Hanako and Sakura comes out. They called out Lady C, um, Mai Sakurai, and of course Waka. But what's interesting about this is how Sakura Hanako proceeded. They called Lady C Lady San. They called Mai Sakurai Sakurai San. But as for Waka, on the other hand, they just call her Tsukiyama. So Waka is so felt disrespectful the fact that they did not call her Tsukiyama-san. Now, recently we know that Aya Sakura has issues towards um, Waka due to the fact that she called her annoying. So basically, what's going on that they decide to go do their own generational struggle. But what is funny is Lady C and Sakurai are having fun knowing that Waka is getting herself into a big pickle with the young Lisa experience. They're saying like, oh, they don't like you because all this and that. So that kind of goes out its way. So it became like a very interesting thing. I know that recently Sakura and Waka will always clash, but I'm like thinking how this is going to end between those two. I wouldn't be surprised if Waka's trying to force Sakura to join Club Venus to teach her a lesson, but there's no way Sakura would do that. I know many people have already spoken, thinking that some people. I know one guy who talked on Twitter saying that he thinks that she might end up with Cosmic Angels, possibly, but there are other options she could do. So we'll wait and see about that. So I think that's pretty much it with the Stardom. So let's go with Pro Wrestling Noah. Okay, well, it's been a while since I reviewed a Pro Wrestling Noah event. This is their much recent event that took place on June 10th, just recently, I think. This is part of their Sunny Voyage tour that just started, and I think this is day 16. So let's get started from start to finish. Our opening match, we have Eita versus Seki Yoshioka. I have to say this match was a pretty good opener. I mean, from I know I haven't been since I said I didn't haven't reviewed Pro Wrestling Noah, I know Eita has been having issues towards people that betray him. Recently, Ogawa betrayed him, who's supposed to be his tag partner, and then of course Daga, someone who he's been known to be friends with, also betrayed him. But recently he's been on his own since then. But in this case, this match ends in a 15 time limit draw, which was pretty good. But um, someone named Leona attacked Eita from behind. You know, basically a long-standing rivalry between him and whoever he's been fighting against. Now, our next match, we have Kai Fujimura teaming with Asushi Kotoge to take on Yoshinari Ogawa and Leona. Now, you probably can guess this match was going to be in favor because what was it? Fujimura is in fact a young boy, so basically he has least experience in the ring, and of course he was going to be the one to get the fall when Leona applied the figure four leg lock, giving him the win for his team. However, in post match, Eita decided to get a little payback for what Leona did, but however, the numbers games was just too much. Ogawa decided to give Leona the helping hand, and of course, Leona gave him a punch right in the face, leaving him in the ground. So Eita right now he's in deep trouble, knowing that he has to somehow overcome this, knowing he has no friends that he can trust. Next up, we have Chris Ridgway taking on Tadasuke. Now, I knew that this match was going to be much of a savagery coming from Chris Ridgway. I mean, the guy is like a beast, not to mention a striker and a submission specialist. If you guys seen how he is with Zack Sabre Jr., you guys probably know that. But he's much of a meaner streak. But unlike Zack Sabre Jr., he's more of the calm and confident wrestler. So that's always been like that. But it was Ridgway applied the ankle lock many times, but Tatsuki knows that this was going to be a much tougher thing for him to do. But even though he escaped it many times, there's many ways for a submission specialist to make someone submit. Now I wasn't too sure exactly what I saw for what Chris Ridgway, but he was doing like the muffler. I don't know if that was 100% what I saw, but it seems like that. But it did force Tadasuke to, of course, tap out. Next match, we have the members of Congo, more specifically Hajime Ohara and Manabu Soya taking on Axis, consistent, of course, former Congo member Katsuhiko Nakajima, and of course, we have Go Shiozaki. So, if you guys don't know what I'm referring to, it's let me give a quick background between acts about this team. Axis was a tag team formed by both Go Shiozaki and Katsuhiko Nakajima. Now, we all know where Nakajima was. He was with Congo, but instead he decided to leave Congo and align himself once again with his tag partner. And these guys have been recently an unstoppable force, according to the commentators from during the All Together show, that most likely they could be a force to be reckoned if they made the decision to proceed for the GHC tag team titles. And I have to say, this match really proved that why this should be a force to be reckoned with. It was, of course, Nakajima with the brainbuster onto Ohara to put him away and give Axis the win. Next up, we have singles action Sean Legacy versus the Supernova Kato Kiyomiya. Now, this match is going to be interesting. I seen Sean Legacy on the Altogether show. Kiyomiya, we all know his deal, but I knew this match was going to end with Kiyomiya picking up the win when he applied like a sort of like a powerbomb type move that sealed the deal for him to pick up the win. Next up, we got an 8-man tag team match. We have team number 1, Alejandro, Dante Leon, Yoshihiki Inamari, and of course, Masa Kiyomiya. They take on Daiki Inaba, Stallion Rogers, Super Crazy, and Hayata. So I have to say this was a pretty good match. There's a lot of good junior wrestlers in this particular moment. But in this case, it was Dante Leon, who continues to surprise and know a fan base with the spiral onto Super Crazy to pick up the win. Now, our next match, we have Asuka and Takashi Sugiura taking on the members of Good Looking Guys, or GLG, Yohei and Jake Lee. So, I have to say this was a pretty good, interesting matchup that was going to take place. Now, it was, of course, Jake Lee with a big boot into the corner side of the ring onto Amasuki to pick up the win. So that's how it ends. But later, our next match, we have, of course, Keno taking on a former member now of Congo, um, Hoshiki, I think that's his name, or just High 69 or whatever he calls himself. This is a very, as you know, recently, High 69 left Congo because he felt that things were not going well for him. So we have recently seen Congo has been losing members. Most specifically, they only have two junior heavyweight competitors left. That is Kondo and, of course, O'Hara. But I'm sure Keno will not forget the insolence that High 69 did by leaving Congo. So, of course, the Keno was gonna make him pay for leaving, which he did when he applied a double foot stomp, no, a diving foot stomp on top of the turnbuckle, giving him the win. However, during his promo, he received a surprise visit from a particular individual all the way from All Japan Pro Wrestling, and we're talking about Kento uh, Kento Miyahara, and boom, it ends right there. I don't know what they're saying, but I'm sure it's going to be interesting. We could see those two in a match. So I think that's pretty much it with Noah. So let's move on with NXT. Okay, NXT, our final review. It started out with Schism, more specifically Joe Gacy, along with the Dyad, Rip Fowler, and Jagger Reed, along with Ava Reigns. They take on Mustafa Ali, Tyler Bate, and Wesley. Now, this whole rivalry between these two teams began when Schism, Joe Gacy, trying to prove a point that this friendship is a load of crap. Because it's no secret that many wrestlers who Wesley becomes friends with will want to have an opportunity of the North American title. But except it seems that things are not going exactly to Joe Gacy's favor to prove his point. But the match was pretty interesting. However, there was a state of confusion in what's been going on. The ref did not see that Tyler Bate was tagged in by Wesley near the end. However, a referee informed the ref that he saw Tyler Bate was tagged in. So basically, this whole confusion ended with Tyler Bate picking up the win onto Gacy with the Tiger Driver 97. But however, you know there's going to be a lot of retribution by Schism for what the referee caused. Ava Reigns made it perfectly clear. But later on, we did see, of course, Bate, Ali, and Lee talk about how things with the match was pretty great. They should be celebrating. However, Ali made a thought, how about you two have a match for the North American title just to finish what you guys started? But he also volunteered himself as a referee just to make sure there's a fair game on this one. So that's going to be interesting to see, and it's already been signed on that one. Now, Thea Hell, as you guys know, has been declared as the number one contender to take on Tiffany Stratton. However, apparently Drew Gulak and Charlie Dempsey, have they're trying to get her pumped up or trying to get on her nerve, whatever. But Duke Hudson, I think Duke is way in of his head to run Chase U. He tried to call Mr. Chase, but no answer. So the obvious question, what is going on? We'll see what happens then. Now, Braun Breaker comes out to do his little promo. As you know, recently he made the most interesting, shocking announcement that he wants to challenge Seth frickin' Rollins for the WWE World Heavyweight title. Now, of course, Dragunov, who has issues towards Braun Breaker for what he did last week, hasn't forgotten. But however, Seth Rollins sent out a little video message to Braun Breaker telling him that it was very bold of you to call me out. He thought the same thing too because Seth was in that same predicament as him. But he did stated that, what the hell? I don't mind going back where it all started for me. So he is accepting the challenge, and this is going to take place next week. Now, with a recent interview with Dana Brooke, as you know, she's going to be making appearances in SmackDown, Raw, and NXT. But she's been hearing the buzz been going on NXT. However, someone is who calls herself the savior of NXT, Cora Jade, does not like that. So basically, try to put her in her place. But Cora Jade will be facing Thea Hill at all. Thea Hill in a match because, as you know, she probably thinks that a mere cheerleader just got lucky. But we go to that match between Thea Hill and Cora Jade. Now, you probably would think that Cora Jade much has the upper hand on this one. But however, there was the moment where, of course, Cora Jade was about to use her little stick thingy to hurt Thea. But however, Dana Brooke decided to give a little helping hand. The referee did not see a thing. But they, of course, Hale decided to pull off a submission move, the Kimura lock. That's a very interesting move. So it's pretty, and of course, Thea Hale is very pumped about everything, and of course, she feels confident about her match against Tiffany Stratton. So we'll just wait and see what happens till then. Now we do have the NXT Heritage Cup title. Now originally it was supposed to be Noam Dar versus Nathan Frazier, but Noam Dar got injured and had Ora Menza to do his little dirty work. Now you know that somehow Noah Dar will do whatever it takes to keep the cup right where it is. So of course that was going to be the case, interference and all that. But in the first round, Frazier picked up the first fall, and then of course this next round it was Mensa. But the third round ended with nobody taking any pinfalls or submission. That's until we got to the fourth round, where of course Cara Jackson and Lash Legend were getting in the way. But luckily, Ulysses Leon and Valentina Frost gave a helping hand. But because of that, there was a bit of a misfired by a miscalculation by Mensa with his spinning heel kick. But it did allow for Nathan Frazier to do the Phoenix Splash 1, 2, 3, our brand new Heritage Cup champion. So basically, Noam Dar should be livid, crying like a little girl, knowing that he lost. Now, as you all know, Lyra Valkyria has been one of the most impressive athletes ever. She does a little video promo package, which she's done. But as soon as it was over, Jay-Z Jane is not impressed. But however, Elektra Lopez feels like she's impressed, that she feels that maybe our current NXT Women's Champion is right. But of course, Jay-Z Jane is not impressed one way or the other. But as soon as that, here comes Lola Vice telling Elektra Lopez she doesn't like any of the other except for her. So we could see maybe they could be the next. If there's a way, they should be the next ones to challenge for the NXT Women's Tag Team titles and bring them back where they rightfully belong. Now our next match, we have a 2-on-1 handicap match. We have Daba Kato taking on Scripps and Axiom. Now this is where, of course, Scripps and Axiom has to use their speed in order to take down the big man. And that's exactly what happened. So there were great moments where Scripps and Axiom were able to apply that, but they have to do it in a good calculating move. So Scripps was able to put down the Daba Kato, but it was the golden ratio that finished him off once and for all, giving Axiom and Scripps the win. However, as soon as the post-match began, they were viciously attacked by Los Luthorios, consisting of Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo. So basically, we all know what's going on. So basically, they're back into NXT. But the real motives are, what in fact are they doing back now? Now, we do get a little interesting video package by Stax where he's trying to solve the clues. Who could be responsible to rat out Tony D'Angelo? So that is still unclear. So his money is still on Gallus. So he's going to do whatever it takes to free him. So obviously, what is the underboss going to do? How is he going to proceed it even further, despite the fact that the odds are against him? We'll just wait and see. Now, we all seen the whole thing with Briggs and Jensen, and of course, Hank Ledger and Walker getting in this whole thing, the friends fighting each other to make themselves stronger. Well, apparently, Malik Blade and Enofe just are doing the same thing. But however, Jensen and Briggs decided to come out to give a little support. Same thing with Hank Ledger and Hank Walker. So that kind of sets it in. But the obvious thing is these two athletes are great. They are great high flyers. But one thing I did like is how it was a surprising move when Malik Blade was gone into a suplex, and Enofe had the match won. But however, Malik Blade body shift himself in order to turn it into an inside cradle, giving him the win. However, Booker T comes out to say that there's going to be a number one contenders for the tag team titles against Gallus. So it's going to be Ledger and Walker versus Blade and Enofe versus Briggs and Jensen. But later the brawl between these two teams began to determine who will be. However, a fourth team says they want to be involved in this one, and that is, of course, the much recent return and surprise of Los Lotharios, Garza and Carrillo. Now, we all seen the last two times Damon Kemp has been complaining about these losses with Eddie Thorpe, were like a load of crap for him. But of course, Eddie Thorpe was like saying, "Oh, you're bitching about it so much." So I think he wants to end this once and for all. But Damon Kemp believes that this time he won't be so lucky. But we'll see what happens. Now, our next match, we have Roxanne Perez versus Tatum Paxley. Now, recently, Tatum Paxley decided to help out Blair Davenport. Now, if you remember, Blair Davenport has been identified as the one who attacked Nikita Lyons, Wendy Chu, and, of course, Sol Ruka. As you know, Blair Davenport is leaving a message to every one of the women's locker room. But Roxanne Perez decided to send a direct message herself through Tatum Paxley until she applied the roll-up onto her to pick up the win. But Roxanne sends a direct message that she's not afraid of her, that she's willing to take her on. So let's see what happens, and I can't wait to see it. Now, Gigi Dolan, as you know, she was part of that battle royal for a number one contendership. She got in under her Kiana James seems she got under her skins, but she got vices from someone who also had a problem with her, and we're talking about Fallon Henley. So she tells her that she's a snake, but she tells her, just watch out. So the obvious question, how is Gigi Dolan going to proceed it? We'll just gotta wait and see until that day. Now, our main event is a number one contenders for the NXT title. We have Ilya Dragunov and, of course, Baron Corbin. Now, Ilya Dragunov is trying to prove that he can get to the top, but Baron Corbin is trying to prove a point. He's sick, as you know, Baron Corbin's sick and tired of the NXT wrestlers complaining, try to be in the main roster, all this and that. But this match, this was going to be a much brutal match because Ilya Dragunov, he takes the pain, he gives the pain. But however, the match was cost thanks to Braun Breaker that in fact got in the way, costing Ilya Dragunov the match. And of course, Braun Breaker is probably laughing his ass off, knowing that he cost him a number one contendership. But when Baron Corbin thought he had everything under control, well, Carmelo Hayes got his little payback for what Baron Corbin did to him by sneaking from behind. And I'm sure Baron Corbin is not going to forget, but Hayes is going to prove a point that he doesn't miss. But of course, Baron Corbin will say, you will miss. Well, we'll see what happens until we see it happen. And I think that's it for NXT. I believe it's time to go to our final thing we're going to do, news updates. Okay, So, welcome to our news updates. So, let's get started to see what we have for today. Now, our GCW updates, some interesting events are taking place. We have the Thank Me Later that's going to take place on the 17th of this month. I believe that's this Saturday. We have Alec Price versus Kevin Knight. And then, of course, next month on the 8th of July for the Clean Up Man event, Cold Radrick will be in action to take on um, John Wayne Murdoch. That's going to be one crazy match. And then finally, for the Now and Forever event taking place on the 14th, the Southern Psycho Mance Warner will be in action to take on the legend George South. Now, interesting news was announced by House of Glory for their Plata O Plomo event taking place also this month on the 16th of June. Alex Shelley will be in action to take on Mighty Manta. That's going to be one heck of a match. Impact Wrestling has announced a brand new pay-per-view taking place later on this month on the 25th of June, Summer Sizzler. But the biggest news, Leo Rush makes his return back to Impact Wrestling. I don't know how long it's been since he's been there, but it's going to be a lot interesting to see. Prestige Wrestling has announced for their Black Shine event taking place later on this month on the 18th. Kevin Blackwood will be in action against Roderick Strong, who now returns to the Independents. That's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Now, as you guys remember last time on the news updates, I mentioned that Reality of Wrestling has announced that, of course, NXT star Trick Williams will be making his debut. Well, it turns out another WWE superstar will be making that debut on that very same show, Summer Champions. That's going to take place next month on the 15th. We have Alicia Fox will be making her appearance as well. Now, finally, if you guys know this promotion in Japan called Just Tap Out, run by former WWE star Taka Michinoku, they just announced for their promotion are now doing international shipping. So whatever merch you want to buy, they'll be able to ship it overseas. So the information, you can look at it at their Twitter page. So you'll probably be able to see it. So it's going to be fun. The promotion is pretty interesting, so you should check it out. And I think that's pretty much it, what we have for our news updates. So let's call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, we have AEW Dynamite. I'm not sure if there's any other events I'm able to do before that, but we'll just see. But right now, at this moment, I'll be doing some, before anything else, I'll be doing some other errands in order to get that out of the way, so I can proceed doing Dynamite and any other shows that I'll be able to do. So we'll see what happens. So I'm just gonna wing it for the next episode. So, but for now, I'll see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang.